everyone, and welcome back to this channel. So this is another episode of our Juniper Lab Simulation series, and in this session, we are continuing with our last two episodes. So remember, in the last two episodes, we've discussed how to perform route distribution between protocols. So you have different protocols configured in different segments of the network. How do you perform the route import from one protocol to the other to ensure that nodes are reachable across the network? So in the last two sessions, first we discussed how to import the direct routes to BGP, and then we demonstrated how to import the static routes to BGP. So that is okay. And on R2, when you log into R2 and show route, you will find that we have the routes. We have the direct route that is coming in from R7. We also have the static route that was configured on R7 towards R3. So we've achieved the objective of importing static routes and direct routes into BGP, and they have been propagated across the network. So the next step that we need to do is to import OSPF to ISIS. So you've configured OSPF in one segment of the network, you've configured ISIS in another segment of the network, depending on the requirements. And you need to ensure that some nodes running ISIS should be able to reach some nodes running OSPF. Similarly, some nodes running OSPF should be able to reach some nodes running ISIS. So how do you achieve that? That is the goal of this session. And when you are doing the route import again, you need to do it using route policies. You need to do it using route filters or the prefix list to ensure that you are only importing the exact route or the specific route that you want to be advertised across the network. And always avoid, that one will help you to avoid importing everything across the network or between the protocols. And again, if you import everything, it's very easy to cause loops in the network and it can be chaotic. So always use policies, always use filters or prefixes to specify what you want to import from one protocol to another. So you have OSPF, you have ISIS. When I log into R1, so on R1, if I run show route, you will see that we have OSPF route going to R4. This is the loopback IP of R4. We also have ISIS route. So we have also ISIS route coming in from R5. And the goal of this lab is to import OSPF to ISIS. So how do we achieve that one? To ensure that on R5, if I do show route, I should be able to see the loopback of R4 on R5. So I need to log into R1. This is the boundary. So this is where we perform the route import between the protocols. So on R1, I will set policy options, policy statements, OSPF to ISIS policy, and then I'll set term 1 from protocol OSPF. So I've specified that I need to import this route from OSPF. If it's coming in from static, if it's coming in from BGP, it will not be imported to ISIS. So you really need to check that route and ensure that the source protocol is the one that you've specified when you are configuring the policy on the router. And then I'll use from route filter. So I'll do route filter, and the route filter should be 4.4.4. mask is 32, and I'm doing exact. So again, you need to check this prefix, ensure that this is the exact prefix and the mask that you want to be advertised to ISIS. And then I'll do the action. It's then accept. Then we can do term 2 as usual. So term 2, then reject. So if I do show pipe compare, you will see that these are the candidate configurations. And once we have a policy, we now need to use this policy into our ISIS process. So we set protocols, ISIS, and then export. And then we use this policy, OSPF to ISIS policy. So now I'll do commit check. Always good to confirm that you have the right syntax. and then I'll do commit and quit. There is a typo. So now if I do show configuration, display set, this is the policy that we've configured. We have from protocol OSPF, this is the exact prefix that we want to advertise to ISIS, and then the action is reject, action is accept for the term 1, and then the second term rejects everything else. So always a good practice to have the explicit reject statement at the end of your policy statement. So once we've done that, when I go to R5 and I show route, you can see that now we have 4.4.4.4. So this prefix has been advertised to ISIS. So you can change some parameters. For example, you can change the metric. If I go back to R1 and just do configure and run the same command, term 1, you see that you have options. Of course, you've then and use the question mark, you see that you can color them, you can accept, of course we've accepted, you can add a community, you can add next hop origin metric 1. So for example, I can add the metric, can add a metric of 100 and then commit. So if I do show run compare, run show configuration, display set, you see that now we are adding a metric of 100. If you go on R5, you can see that this route had a metric of 11. So if I rerun it, you can see that now it has a metric of 73. So you can change these parameters, you can adjust them, you can add a community, you can tag these routes using the same routing policy or the policy statement that we've configured on this router. So you can see that it's very easy to do the route import from OSPF to ISIS. On R1, you need a policy, you need a route filter or a prefix list, and then you can perform any action that you want, and always remember to have the explicit reject statement at the end of your policy statement as a best practice to ensure that everything else should not be accepted into ISIS. So this is it, guys. I hope you've understood how to perform the route import from OSPF to ISIS. And again, it's very simple. You just need to know what you want to, the type of route, which protocol is it coming from, which are the exact prefixes or the subnet that you want to import, and then you can configure your policy. So this is it. This is how you can do that. And then remember, you need to use that policy in your ISIS configuration. So you use the command set protocols ISIS export, and then you specify the policy, OSPF ISIS policy, and the routes will be imported from OSPF, advertised to ISIS, and on R5 you can see that we are able to see the routes as 4.4.4.4 is now available on R5, which is running ISIS. So again, you need to do bidirectional route import. Again, you need to import ISIS to OSPF, and you should be able to have the connectivity between the different segments of the network. So thank you so much for watching this session. Again, I hope to see you in the next session. And just a kind reminder that remember to hit that subscribe button. Also remember to like, comment, and share this video with your connections. Thank you so much, and see you in the next episode.